All right, folks, let's cut through the noise and talk about something that is absolutely non-negotiable for anyone who takes the Second Amendment seriously. Carrying a piece of hardware on your person isn't just about exercising a right or filling up a spot in your gun safe. It is about a mindset of readiness. It is about being prepared to stop a threat in those terrifying split-second moments when the world goes sideways. Now, if you spend any time on the forums or at the local shop, you know the conversation usually circles around the best way to carry. We argue about appendix rigs, strong side hip carry, or maybe a shoulder holster for the cooler months. But we rarely stop to talk about the failures. And let me tell you, knowing what not to do is often the difference between going home to your family or becoming a statistic. So today, we are going to tear down some of the most dangerous, impractical, and frankly foolish ways to haul a pistol. We are going to look at why these methods can get you hurt, or worse, get you killed. We will dissect the techniques that get debated endlessly on the internet. We'll expose the tactical flaws that nobody talks about. And we are going to shine a spotlight on the one carry method that takes the crown as the absolute worst option on the table. Carrying a handgun for self-defense is a lifestyle commitment. It is a promise to protect yourself and the people you love. But the real test isn't just buying the gun. It is carrying it in a way that makes it useful when the adrenaline dumps and your fine motor skills go out the window. Your method needs to let you get that gun into the fight immediately. If your carry style leaves you fumbling or leaves you exposed, it doesn't matter if you're packing a high-end 1911 or a budget polymer frame. The concealed carry world is full of gadgets and gimmicks, all claiming to be the gold standard. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband, appendix, small of the back. Every camp has its die-hard believers. But at the end of the day, it comes down to balancing safety with accessibility. If you cannot put a combat grip on your weapon and draw it cleanly while under extreme duress, the gun might as well be a paperweight. In a defensive shooting, time is the only currency that matters. We know from FBI statistics and real-world encounters that these fights are often over in 3 seconds or less. Any hesitation caused by a bad holster position can be the difference between survival and catastrophe. Picking a carry method isn't about looking cool on Instagram. It is about mechanics. If your gun is buried under layers of clothing in a spot you can't reach, or if it's positioned where someone can snatch it during a scuffle, you have turned your defensive tool into a liability. Sadly, not all carry positions are created equal. Some of these methods, despite being popular in movies or old detective novels, hide serious dangers. We aren't just talking about being slow on the draw. We are talking about actively endangering yourself. Imagine needing your weapon, but physically not being able to get to it because you are seated in a car or knocked on your back. Or imagine dropping your gun because the carry method isn't secure. A bad setup compromises your ability to win the fight. So with that reality check out of the way, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the most debated carry methods and see why getting this right is life or death. Appendix carry. In the last 5 to 10 years, appendix carry has absolutely exploded in popularity. It is probably the most argued about topic at the gun counter today. This is where you position the firearm right up front, usually at the 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock position, just forward of the hip. The appeal is obvious. It offers incredibly fast access to your weapon, and because of the way the human chest and stomach are shaped, it allows you to conceal a full-size duty pistol under a t-shirt. That draw speed, getting the gun from the belt to the target, can be a game changer. So, it is no shock that appendix carry has a legion of devoted fans. It is tactical, it is efficient, and it hides the gun better than almost anything else. But there is another factor that drives people to this method. For a lot of folks, it is just more comfortable than having a chunk of steel digging into their kidney all day. By keeping the gun near your center of gravity, it doesn't flop around when you walk or run. It minimizes the printing issue where the grip pokes out of your shirt, and it keeps the weapon in a space where you can easily defend it from a gun grab. That's why you see so many special operations guys and high-level instructors running this setup. But we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the danger factor. The very thing that makes appendix carry great, its central position, is also what makes it terrifying for some people. You are pointing the muzzle of a loaded firearm at some of the most vital real estate on your body. If you have a negligent discharge in this position, you aren't just grazing your glutes. You are risking a bullet through the femoral artery or the groin. That is a bleed-out injury that can end your life in minutes. This risk is amplified if you are carrying striker-fired pistols, like the Glock series or the SIG P320s. These guns are fantastic tools, known for their reliability, but they usually don't have manual thumb safeties. They have relatively light triggers compared to a double-action pull. If you get lazy, or if you rush to reholster, and a piece of your shirt gets caught in the trigger guard, boom, you have a catastrophic situation. Despite that nightmare scenario, Appendix Carry isn't going anywhere. The guys who do it right understand that you have to be disciplined. This isn't a method for the careless. You need serious training to build the muscle memory for a safe draw, and more importantly, a safe reholstering. The golden rule here is to be slow and deliberate when putting the gun away. You need to look the gun into the holster. You visually confirm that the path is clear, ensuring no drawstrings or fingers are inside that trigger guard. Your hardware choice matters too. While striker guns dominate the market, some folks feel safer running a double-action, single-action pistol, like a C, Z, or a Beretta. That longer, heavier first trigger pull acts as a safety buffer, or if you stick with a striker, maybe you engage a manual safety if your model has one. And let's talk gear. You cannot use a cheap collapsible nylon holster for Appendix Carry. You need a high-quality Kydex rig that completely covers the trigger guard and gives you an audible click when the gun seats. So, what is the bottom line on Appendix? It is not for everyone. If you have a large midsection, it might be uncomfortable. But if you do it right, with the right mindset, it is arguably the most effective way to carry a fighting pistol. It gives you speed and retention that are hard to beat. But remember, the margin for error is zero. If you mess up, the consequences are permanent. Small of the back. Now, let's shift gears to the small of the back carry. This is the one you always see in Hollywood movies. The bad guy tucks a piece into his belt right over his spine. It is positioned in that hollow at the 6 o'clock position. People like this because, theoretically, it offers maximum concealment. Your back is broad, and a jacket or a loose shirt drapes right over it. At first, it seems like a genius idea. It feels natural to reach back there, and the gun is completely out of your way when you are standing still. It seems like the perfect marriage of comfort and hiding the weapon. But let me be clear, this method is a trap. The risks here are massive, and the benefits are mostly an illusion. The biggest problem is physical safety, and I'm not talking about shooting yourself. I'm talking about falling. If you slip on ice, or if you get knocked backward in a fight, you are slamming your entire body weight onto a rigid hunk of steel directly over your spinal column. We are talking about vertebrae damage, ruptured discs, or even paralysis. This isn't a theory. This happens. Law enforcement agencies learned this the hard way decades ago. Most police departments have totally banned carrying handcuffs or firearms directly over the spine for this exact reason. There are documented cases of officers taking a spill and ending up on disability for life because of their gear placement. Putting a hard object against your spine is just begging for a career-ending injury. Beyond the medical disaster waiting to happen, let's look at the tactics. Drawing from the small of the back is painfully slow. You have to reach all the way behind you, often putting your arm in a chicken wing position that is mechanically weak. If you are in a clinch or a grapple, good luck getting to that gun. Also, sweeping your jacket back to get a grip exposes your intentions to the whole world before you even have the gun in hand. Plus, that motion usually creates a situation where you sweep the muzzle across your own body or the people standing next to you. Legally and professionally, this method is a no-go. Trainers hate it, range safety officers hate it, and liability insurance carriers frown on it. Even pocket carry, which has its own issues regarding caliber size and draw speed, is vastly superior to putting a gun over your spine. At least with pocket carry, you aren't risking a wheelchair just by slipping on a wet floor. But, believe it or not, small of the back carry isn't the winner of our worst method contest. That title belongs to something even more useless in a real fight. Ankle carry. Let's talk about ankle carry. Strapping a gun to your lower leg is a concept that sounds great in a detective novel. But in the real world, it is a logistical nightmare. Think about the physics of it. Your legs are constantly moving, acting like pendulums. That motion puts tremendous stress on the holster and the strap. Over time, Velcro wears out, elastic stretches, and suddenly you have a retention failure. Imagine running for cover and having your pistol go skating across the pavement. Even if the holster holds up, the sensation is awful. It feels like you are wearing an ankle monitor or a lead weight. It changes your gait. It clunks against your shin bone. It is a constant, nagging reminder that you are carrying, and not in a good way. When you actually put this to the test on the range, the flaws become undeniable. Even a lightweight snub-nose revolver, like a Smith & Wesson 642, feels like a brick when it's strapped that low. This forces you to compromise on firepower. To make ankle carry even remotely bearable, you have to carry tiny, subcompact mouse guns. We are talking about 380 ACP, or small revolvers with limited capacity. You are giving up the shootability and the capacity of a fighting pistol just for the sake of convenience. And if you try to strap a Glock 26 or something double-stacked down there, forget it. You will look like you have a tumor on your leg, and you will be walking with a limp. Tactically, ankle carry is a disaster. To draw the weapon, you have to stop moving. You have to kneel down or hop on one leg like a flamingo. In a dynamic self-defense situation where someone is charging you with a knife or shooting at you, becoming stationary is a death sentence. If you end up on the ground in a wrestling match, that gun is arguably closer to your attacker's hands than it is to yours. Sure, people argue it's good for when you are driving or seated at a desk, but even then, it is slow. There are far better solutions for seated carry, like a cross-draw holster on your belt or a dedicated car mount. Those options keep the gun near your hands, not your feet. Given the difficulty of the draw, the limit on gun size, and the sheer discomfort, ankle carry takes the prize as the least practical method for a primary defensive firearm. Safer alternatives. So, if we are throwing out the trash, what are we left with? What are the methods that actually work for the everyday citizen? We need methods that balance speed, security, and safety. We need options that let you fight back instantly. The gold standards in the industry are inside the waistband, outside the waistband, and for specific roles, pocket carry. Let's start with inside the waistband, or IWB. This is the king of concealed carry. You place the holster inside your pants, usually at the 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock position for right-handers. This uses the natural drape of your shirt to hide the grip. It keeps the gun tight to your body, secure and right where your hand naturally falls. It works with t-shirts, dress shirts, you name it. Then you have outside the waistband, or OWB. This is generally the most comfortable and the fastest way to draw. The gun sits on the belt, outside the pants. This allows for a full, positive firing grip before the gun even leaves the holster. Now, it is harder to conceal. You usually need a jacket, a flannel, or a suit coat to cover it up. But for open carry states, or range days, or winter carry, OWB is hard to beat. This is what law enforcement uses for a reason. It prioritizes fighting capability. Finally, let's touch on pocket carry. Now, I'm talking about doing this right. This is for your small J-frame revolvers or your micro-compact 38s. You must, and I repeat, must, use a proper pocket holster. This holster breaks up the outline of the gun so it looks like a wallet, and crucially, it covers the trigger. You do not want keys or loose change getting into the trigger guard in your pocket. It is a great option for a backup gun or for non-permissive environments where deep concealment is the priority. But remember, the method is only half the battle. The gear and the software are just as important. Don't buy a $500 gun and stick it in a $10 universal nylon holster. Buy quality gear designed for your specific model. It needs to retain the gun even if you are upside down. And above all else, train with it. You need to practice your draw stroke. You need to practice clearing your cover garment. You need to practice reholstering without looking. Situational awareness combined with a smooth practice draw is what wins fights. Not the brand of your gun, but your ability to use it. So, that wraps up this breakdown. The best carry method is the one that you will actually use every day, and the one that allows you to get that gun into the fight safely and quickly. For most of us, that is going to be strong side, IWB, or appendix, carry with a quality rig. But I want to hear from you guys. What are you running? Are you an appendix disciple, or do you stick to the classic 3 o'clock hip carry? Drop a comment down below and tell us why your method works for you. If you got something out of this, smash that like button, Share this video with your range buddies and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next one. Train hard, stay safe, and we'll see you on the range.